Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today, we're diving into Vision Marine Technologies, ticker symbol VMAR. Now, this company is making some serious waves, no pun intended, in the electric boat industry. But VMAR's stock has been a bit of a roller coaster lately. It hit a high of $136.35 just last year, only to plummet to $2.15 today. So what's behind this wild swing? Is VMAR a hidden gem or a potential shipwreck? Well, to help us navigate these choppy waters, we've got our expert on board. So what do you think is driving all this volatility?
Well, I think the recent earnings report might be giving some investors pause. Vision Marine saw a pretty steep drop in revenue. I'm talking 32.86% year over year. And they ended up with a net loss of $14.06 million.
Oof, that doesn't sound too good. I know we shouldn't overreact to one report.
Yeah.
But should investors be worried about these numbers?
Well, the numbers are definitely concerning. But it's really important to keep things in perspective. The electric boat market is still in its early stages. Much like electric cars were a decade or so ago, Vision Marine wants to be a leader in this new sector, and that always comes with risk. But it also means huge potential rewards. I mean, remember, even Tesla had its share of struggles in the beginning.
That's a great point. It's all about potential,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
speaking of potential, Vision Marine just raised a hefty $11.7 million through an at-the-market offering. Could you explain what that means to those of us who aren't exactly financial gurus?
Sure, an at-the-market offering basically means that Vision Marine issued new shares of its stock and sold them directly on the open market. This cash infusion is going to be used for general operations and maybe even more excitingly, strategic acquisition.
Acquisitions. Now, that's interesting. Any thoughts on who they might be looking at?
That's the big question, isn't it? They'll probably target companies that can boost their tech advantage, like a company specializing in advanced battery technology. Or they might go after companies that can expand their market reach, maybe acquiring a smaller boat manufacturer to broaden their product line.
Makes sense. Trying to solidify their position in the electric boating world. And on the topic of technology, Vision Marine's teaming up with Calip Group to develop custom cooling plates for their high-voltage battery packs. Now, why is this partnership such a big deal?
This partnership is tackling a really critical challenge in electric vehicles, and that's heat management. You see, batteries generate heat, and if you don't have effective cooling systems, performance and safety can be compromised. Think back to some of those early electric cars, the ones that had all those overheating problems. Well, this partnership shows that Vision Marine's trying to avoid those same issues.
So they're not just riding the electric wave, they're trying to shape it. Okay, but let's talk about that huge stock surge on January 10th. VMAR's price shot up 52.64% in a single day. What caused that kind of jump?
Well, the timing definitely suggests a connection to both the successful fundraising and the partnership announcement with Calip Group. Investors seem to be reacting positively. They see these developments as signs that the company is making smart strategic moves.
So is this surge just a temporary blip? Or could this be a sign of sustained growth? What do the technical indicators tell us?
To answer that, let's look at the moving average, convergence divergence, or MACD for short. Now, the MACD is a momentum indicator. Think of it like a speedometer for the stock. Right now, the MACD for VMAR is signaling a potential slowdown, which suggests there might be some downward pressure.
Wait a minute. That doesn't sound very promising, especially after all that good news.
But hold on. There are also some bullish signals. The stochastic indicator, which looks at the stock's closing price relative to its price range over a certain period, is actually looking pretty positive. Plus, the stock's current position within the lower Bollinger Band range suggests that it might even be undervalued. Those Bollinger Bands basically act as a measure of volatility.
So we've got these sort of conflicting forces at play here. It all sounds a bit confusing, to be honest. What's the takeaway for our listeners, the ones who are trying to figure out if they should invest or not?
Considering all the factors, the technical analysis leans towards a hold recommendation for VMAR right now.
A hold. Okay, can you break that down a little for our listeners who are still learning about investing? What does a hold recommendation actually mean in practical terms?
Essentially, it means we're not advising to buy or sell at this particular moment. It's more of a wait-and-see approach. We need more data before we can get a clearer picture.
So we're in wait-and-see mode for now. But while we're waiting, I think it's worth taking a step back and, looking at the bigger picture. The electric boat market is still pretty new.
Yeah.
But it definitely seems like it's gaining traction. So what's driving this shift towards electric boats? I mean, beyond just the coolness factor.
Well, there's definitely a growing awareness about the environmental impact of of those traditional gas-powered boats. People are looking for cleaner and more sustainable options. And electric boats offer a quieter, smoother ride, which a lot of boaters really appreciate. Plus, they generally require less maintenance, which can save you money and hassle in the long run.
It does sound like a win-win, both for the environment and for the boaters themselves. Do you think this trend's going to keep accelerating in the next few years?
Oh, absolutely. As battery technology keeps getting better and charging infrastructure improves, I think we're going to see a big jump in electric boat adoption. It's not just a fad, it's a real shift in how we power our boats.
So could Division Marine with their innovative technology and these strategic acquisitions they're making. Could they become a major player in this growing market?
It's definitely possible. They're making some smart moves, and they have the potential to shake things up in the industry. But you got to remember that even Tesla faced challenges on their way to the top. Scaling up production to meet demand while staying profitable, that's a hurdle that Vision Marine's going to have to clear, just like any other company that wants to lead the pack.
Right. Speaking of challenges, what are some of the other obstacles Vision Marine might run into, as they try to navigate this new territory?
Well, one major challenge is infrastructure. While electric car charging stations are popping up everywhere, the infrastructure for charging electric boats just isn't there yet. We need more marinas and docks that have charging capabilities to make electric boating a truly convenient and practical option for everyone.
That's a really good point. It's not just about making the boats, it's about building a whole ecosystem to support them.
Okay, what about competition? Are there other companies out there trying to get a piece of the electric boat market?
Oh, absolutely. This market's getting a lot of attention, both from established boat manufacturers and from new startups. Vision Marine's not alone in this race. They're going to have to stay ahead of the game when it comes to technology design and marketing if they want to stay competitive.
So there's a lot of competition heating up. For our listeners who are thinking about investing in Vision Marine, what should they be keeping an eye on in the coming months?
I'd say keep a close watch on their earnings reports. We need to see if they can turn their innovative ideas and strategic moves into actual profit. Also pay attention to any news about their acquisitions and partnerships. That'll give you some clues about their growth strategy. And of course, stay informed about the overall electric boating industry. It's a fast-moving sector. Things can change pretty quickly.
So do your research, stay informed, and buckle up. It sounds like the electric boat market is going to be a wild ride. I agree. And for investors who are intrigued by the potential of this emerging industry, Vision Marine Technologies is definitely a company to watch.
It really does feel like electric boats are here to stay. They're ready to become a big part of the boating world. And Vision Marine's right there in the middle of it all. But before we wrap things up today, I wanted to touch on one more thing. The regulatory environment. Are there any government regulations or incentives that could affect the growth of the electric boat market?
That's a great point. The regulatory landscape is always changing. It's definitely something investors need to keep in mind. Some governments are putting stricter emission standards in place for boats, which could create a more favorable environment for companies like Vision Marine. And then others are offering tax breaks or even subsidies to encourage people to buy electric boats.
So it really depends on where you are in the world. But overall, it seems like things are moving in a direction that could benefit companies like Vision Marine.
I think that's a fair assessment. As more people become aware of climate change and the need for sustainable transportation options, I think we'll see even more government support for the electric boat industry. And that could mean a big boost for companies that are ready to take advantage of this trend.
That's good news for anyone thinking about investing.
Yeah.
All right, so let's recap. Vision Marine Technologies is a company with a lot going on right now. They're working in a fast-growing industry, they're making strategic acquisitions, and they're facing both big opportunities and challenges. What's the main takeaway for our listeners, the ones who are trying to make sense of all this information?
I think the key point is this. Vision Marine has a lot of potential, but there's also some risk involved. They're not a sure thing, but they're definitely a company to watch closely.
And as with any investment, it's super important to do your research. Weigh the pros and cons carefully, and make sure you're comfortable with the level of uncertainty before you jump in. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Investing in an emerging industry like this requires a bit of a risk appetite, but it also offers the potential for big rewards if you make the right choices.
Well said. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this episode of Investing Talk Podcast. We hope you found this look at Vision Marine Technologies helpful. If you want more deep dives into companies and industries that are shaping the future of investing, don't forget to subscribe. We'd also love to hear your thoughts on Vision Marine and the electric boat market. Leave a comment below, share this episode with your friends, and join the conversation.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Happy investing.